The hero is shocked. He is back in time before the university entrance exams. In the class, everyone is preparing for the exam, which will take place in 25 days. He is horrified by what is happening. A guy in a panic screams that he only wants to be reborn after entering college. At this time, a portal opens from which horrible monsters appear. It becomes clear that this is an invasion from another world, which happens from time to time. Powerful monsters threaten human civilization. In response, humans have developed a beast gene system. By injecting beast genes, they awaken monster power and gain genetic talents. These warriors are humanity's only hope. As a result, warriors have become highly respected and privileged. The entire world has entered an era where combat power decides everything. A warrior fights a huge, ferocious monster using a sword and some supernatural energetic power. Another warrior stands over the defeated enemy. The process of moving between worlds and embedding memories in Yi Haye is shown. Then Yi Haye, apparently a high school student, suffers from a nightmare while holding his head. In class, 2 students mock him, calling him a loser and doubting his ability to pass the college entrance exam. The girl wryly advises the guy to drop out of school and become a laborer. The boy reflects that the previous owner of this body was not very popular. He recalls that he had a tragedy with his parents, because of which he abandoned his studies and training. A classmate accuses him of looking at her. The guy justifies that he was just thinking about it, and is upset about the inheritance he inherited, a bad reputation. The teacher announces the start of the genetic modification serum injections and encourages the students to believe in themselves, reminding them of the 3 years of preparation. He also addresses those who were not serious about their studies. Guy is surprised but determined to right the wrongs of his predecessor. He's ready to take responsibility. The action takes place in the gene injection room of a high school. A group of students are discussing what abilities he can get. Someone jokes about the buttock beast. Students are presented with a serum to awaken the genes of magical beasts. After the injection, they will receive a random gene and awaken its power. The stronger the physique, the more powerful the gene. The lecturer encourages the students to remain calm when the energy surges. The names of the first students are called, and they are injected. A group of people reacted strangely to the injection. Yi Hai injects himself, determined. The teacher is surprised that he has no reaction. The people around him laugh at his lack of change. A girl taunts a guy who doesn't seem to have passed the test. The guy is annoyed and remembers that she was the instigator of the bullying. Suddenly he feels something strange. A system message appears saying that he has received the infinite monster template. The girl continues to bully, but Yi Hai transforms, radiating energy. In a hoarse voice, he orders her and her companions to leave before it's too late. They are surprised and don't realize what's going on. The guy looks threatening. A powerful release of energy stunned the people present. Yi Hai awakened something incredible. The girl falls down, sickened by the powerful aura. The others also felt its effects and felt uncomfortable. The girl is surprised, violet energy hovering around her. The guy is puzzled, blue crystals glowing around him. He is thinking about whether there is someone stronger than him. He is. Enveloped in blue energy, he ponders about the monster template he received and the golden finger from the system. The other disciples are alarmed, remembering He, who they thought was a loser. They are amazed at how the latter had thrown everyone around him off with his aura, with his strength. He knocked out Wang Xing. The girl awakened a 2nd-level magical beast, a fiery scorpion with claws of flame. He apologizes for causing a commotion during his awakening and complains that he wasn't listened to. They announce that all awakened 3rd-year students must go to the testing building to determine the type of magical beast gene awakened and their martial arts level. A gene breakthrough detection device is shown that tests the magical beast gene and martial arts level. They announce the results of the awakening of the pedigrees. One student has awakened the bloodline of a speed beetle, level 3, and is now the first in the class. Another, the best student, has awakened an ice demon dragon bloodline, also level 3, and he is considered the future champion of the city. A girl has awakened an abyss sparrow bloodline, rare and level 4, the best in the entire province. Creatures with such bloodlines could wipe out almost the entire city. He pensively ponders why everyone has awakened 3rd or 4th level bloodlines, but he has an A-grade bloodline. Soon after, the next Yi disciple is announced. Yi displays incredible strength and a powerful aura, astonishing those around him. The crowd is ecstatic, admiring his strength and bloodline that allowed him to reach such a level after awakening. They believe that he will become very influential and want to get close to him. Number 1 is experiencing a huge breakthrough. His name is Yi. The screen displays information about a certain Yi He, 7th grade, level 3 martial apprentice. The bloodline of the beast is unknown. The people around him laugh and mock Yi He, thinking he is a weakling. They are sure that even a junior high school student could defeat him and doubt that he even has a bloodline. They consider all of Yi Hai's previous accomplishments to be nothing more than nothing. Yi Hai himself walks away, disappointed and depressed. He realizes that the pattern has not been detected. Something activated the Infinite Monster Template tooltip. A guide to improving this template has appeared, completing quests or increasing reputation. You can get additional monster templates in the same way. Number of attempts, 0. He hums thoughtfully, realizing that his template rank might be different from the others, and that means something. He realized that if he met the conditions, he could endlessly create monster templates. Excitedly, he imagined himself as the king of monsters. At school, a young man asks his teacher to allow him to take a leave of absence to prepare for the university entrance exams on his own. The teacher, sipping a drink, is skeptical of the idea and doubts that the student will actually study at home. Yi Hai, on the other hand, is determined to improve his knowledge, explaining that he is far behind in the program and needs intensive training to catch up with the others and have a chance of admission. The teacher convinces the student that he needs to go to college to become a warrior. He doubts Yi Hai's ability, believing his base is too weak for the exam, and advises him to prepare for the retake next year. Yi Hai vehemently objects, assuring him that he has awakened a powerful bloodline and will succeed with hard training. Looking into the student's blazing eyes, the teacher hesitates but agrees on the condition that the student will return to him next year for retraining. Soon we see the warrior training center. He walks and ponders the fact that he has some startup capital after his parents died and he got insurance. He thinks about how to increase his power, either to pump up as a warrior or to increase his compatibility with the Temora template. Yi Hai remembers that according to the data, compatibility with the monster template starts at 1 point, but Temora has 3. The young man realizes that Temora's template absorbed the genetic awakening serum and gained 2 additional compatibility points. A guy, content and determined, is thinking about buying a gene serum. He thinks it's a more effective way to improve his abilities than grueling workouts. Yi Hai hurries over and puts his student ID card against the turnstile, but suddenly his eyes go wide with surprise or shock. Everyone around him awakened his bloodline. After awakening Demora's Mad Flame template, he gained a unique sensory ability, the life magnetic field. He senses the life signals emitted by other beings. Yi senses the chi and blood of the warriors, blazing within them like a furnace, and the beastly roar of their bloodlines. He can barely contain his thirst for battle. After all, Mad Demora is the king of beasts in their world, destined to conquer all life on the planet. But for now, he is a newcomer and can only suppress Demora's battle bloodline. When he becomes stronger, he will show the world what it means to be the king of beasts. Suddenly, he is called out by a girl. He looks at the girl awkwardly and is reprimanded. Yi Hai apologizes. The girl calms him down, explaining that he probably just awakened his monster gene. The guy explains that he's looking for a genetic cure at the Warrior Center, but got lost. The girl is surprised that he's already using the cure at such an early stage. The guy asks if this is normal. The girl explains that the genetic medicine is expensive and can be addictive, reducing its effectiveness. She advises waiting until the bloodline is at its limit. The boy asks about the price of the potion. The girl replies that only an initial potion for 400,000 will do for him. The guy is shocked by the price and asks about a discount. She offers him her card for a discount. The young man thanks her and says goodbye. He then spends a huge amount of money at the Warrior Hospital and the gun store. Guy is experiencing a powerful burst of energy, seemingly related to the Mad Flame Demola Beast template. His compatibility with this template increases. He is pleased with the sudden jump in his characteristics, feeling empowered. However, he notices that with each use of the gene potion, the effect becomes less pronounced. He realizes that further amplification will require more effort. The young man is impressed with the progress he has made, comparing it to the years of training of others, and anticipates activating the power of his Daimel bloodline. A guy, confident in his abilities, thinks he can be the best on the exam. He activates some cheat mode and goes to a secret dimension. There are rifts of different levels of danger, from S to E, where monsters live. The higher the rank, the stronger the monsters. The creatures from S-class rifts are out of human control and pose a huge threat to the real world. A young man with a sword behind his back walks down a deserted street. He ponders that this secret zone has fewer people than he expected, probably, because it was explored long ago and all the treasures have already been taken away, leaving only weak beasts for training newcomers. The young man walks up to the front desk and says he has booked a ticket to secret area number 3. The staff member gives him the ticket and asks him to sign a waiver of liability in case of death. Looking at the shimmering portal, the young man realizes that the rift to the secret zone is in front of him. With a determined expression and burning eyes, he jumps into the portal, declaring that this is the beginning of his journey to the title of King of the Beasts. Yi Hai is in some unusual place and marvels at what he sees, noting that it is much more impressive than in the textbooks. He then notices a creature that looks like a red rabbit with fangs that sneaks up on him. The creature turns out to be a rank 1-fang rabbit, and it attacks. Yi Hai prepares for battle. He suddenly grabs the rabbit by the ears and destroys it the next moment. Taking out the magic core, he assesses its value and reflects on his earnings. Yi Hai is pleased with its efficiency, comparing the income to that of ordinary people. Deciding that the cores of low-ranked beasts won't bring much money, he searches for a stronger opponent and meets a huge insect-like creature. The young man clutches the knife tightly with a predatory grin. The appearance of this monster is clearly unexpected to him. The action takes place in the secret realm of Ancheng, the Thermometer 3, Class E. A giant, toothy, plant-like creature attacks. Yi He with his sword fends off the attack. He recalls the information from the Monster Encyclopedia, realizing that the belly of the demon beetle is his weak spot. Suddenly, the monster attacks, creating a spinning attack. In that case, Yi He releases a powerful energy beam at his opponent. The monstrous insect fires projectiles from its stingers. The boy is surprised. He dodges the attack, clearly annoyed. Yi Hai complains about the cost of his suit. The young man realizes that he can't handle this insect at his current level of martial arts. He blames the original body he fell into for his poor academic training. In this case, the young man decides to cheat. The power awakens in the hero, enveloping him in a blue glow. He looks incredibly strong. His power grows. A monstrous maw with sharp teeth opens, ready to attack. But our hero is ready to deliver. The final blow, moving towards the monster. The hero destroys a monster that looks like a huge insect with a powerful blow. Apparently, he used some kind of transformation that greatly increased his power. Now back to normal, he feels the heat of a jet engine and tries to deal with the effects of the transformation. The hero's new sword is corroded by demon bug poison. He is hungry after his first monster hunt and didn't bring any food with him. Suddenly, he smells a pleasant aroma. It is the beetle's magical core, which also happens to be a green rank. The hero absorbs the nucleus. His compatibility with the demon emperor increases. He is furious that he spent a lot of money on a genetic potion that only gave him 1% compatibility, while a single magic crystal increased it by 0.3%. He decides that magic crystals are more profitable and goes hunting. The next day, he activates the field of life. After reaching 9% compatibility, he realizes that the white magic crystals no longer increase it. He has 20 white and 1 green magic crystal that he is going to sell. The girl is amazed that a simple schoolboy has collected so many magic crystals. Yi Hai ponders the rules requiring 1/10 of the loot to be given away, but is still happy with the sum of 200,000 credits. There are 9 days left before the college entrance exam. The group is preparing for a mission in the Ancheng class, D Secret Area Turf 4. They discuss the mission for the blood jade flower, confident of success since they already know the approximate location of the flower. One of the participants, Chen, is injured and won't be able to join. Because of this, there are only 5 people in the group, and they need 6 to enter the secret area. Captain Lin reassures the others by informing them that he has found a new fighter through an agency. This is a level 2 fighter, Lin He Yi. Hai confirms that he is a level 9 martial arts student under the alias Dad's Law. Mentally, he confesses that he bought fake IDs to join the team and enter the secret D-class area after spending a lot of money to do so. He doesn't really like his alias, but he's resigned to it, as a real name would violate copyright. His more experienced teammates warn him that with his level, he is not suited for this mission, but allow him to observe and learn. The main thing is to stay out of the way. He agrees. Yi Hai is pleased that the team has clarified responsibilities. Before the mission begins, the team sets out to find the blood jade vine flower. A group of people in a car are driving through the desert. They are searching for the jade blood flower, which, according to the tracker, is in an oasis up ahead and guarded by a monster. Yi Hai reflects on the fact that the previous search location was in a rainforest, and now they are in the desert. and concludes that the secret worlds are not connected to one particular world. Suddenly, they are attacked by Earth demonic rats. The captain orders Hood to deal with them. Hood accepts the order and goes into battle. Hood attacks with swords. Explosions on the ground are then shown. Yi-Hai watches the explosions. Hood confirms that the target has been destroyed. Yi-Hai realizes how throwing a dart fills his partner with combat energy, turning him into a bomb. Soon, the group disembarks from the car and sets off on foot. The group prepares to attack the monsters in the oasis. Yi-Hai asks why they are walking instead of driving. The leader explains that the noise of the engine might scare off the sensitive monsters. The captain assigns roles. Xiao Xia should throw a special grenade to lure the beast out. Xiao Wu and Hood should set traps. Old Liu provide covering fire. The leader of the group is going to go to the front of the group and orders Yi-He to just watch. The young man agrees to stay on the sidelines. The pheromone grenade explodes. An earth dragon appears. Someone warns the newcomer of the approaching monster. The man stands on the ground, sticking his swords into the ground. His hand clutches the hilt of his weapon. Soon the captain is attacked by a huge dragon. The dragon is defeated. People are running through the deserted area. One of them shouts, "Captain Lin!" Captain Lin urges to keep moving. Someone warns Captain Lin of danger. A giant clawed paw attacks him, but in the next second, Yi-Hai soars into the air. Yi-He defeats the magical beast with his crushing attack. The people around him are amazed by his strength, as he is only a beginner. They begin to praise his powerful strike, marveling at the crushing technique. The girl thanks the fighter for saving him and offers to become companions. Soon, someone pulls out a dragon heart, reporting to Captain Lin the destruction of the Earth Dragon. The group rejoices over the extracted Earth Dragon soul essence. Yi-He marvels at the value of the loot. Another explains its importance in improving something. Next, Captain Lin reflects on his recent difficult victory over the dragon. Suddenly, someone attacks Captain Lin with a knife. The people around him are horrified. Hood's attacker runs away, cynically stating his intentions. Soon, a large man, apparently influential, named Ho Peng appears. He removes his glasses, clearly ready for action. The group discusses a bald guy who is robbing others in the dungeons and targeting them. One of the group is poisoned. The captain accuses the other of betrayal, asking how the other knew of their whereabouts. Yi Shuai understands and says that Hood relayed the information through the dartboard. He taunts the newcomer, telling him to study for his exams instead of flirting with death. Yi-Hai confidently replies that he's going to be the best in the exams. Hood, infuriated by his words, attacks. Yi-Hai considers this behavior to be sheer insolence. The guy with the blue energy charge in his hand is going to deal with this group. Ho Peng seems impressed with the guy. He orders Hood to kill the young man. A hail of blades rains down on Yi-Hai, but the young man releases a powerful energy. Blast. Hu-Day disappears. The boy is left alone on the battlefield. Suddenly, Hu-Day attacks from above. Yi-He uses the Mountain Destroyer battle technique. He applies a new skill. The new attack literally pierces Hu-Day in the chest. The people around him are amazed and question whether this guy is really a martial arts beginner. Yi-He himself looks calm and confident as Hu-Day falls. Yi-Hai uses the gene technique and is asked what family he is from. He replies that he is from the Damonra clan. His opponent scoffs and says that the gene technique won't help overcome the difference in fighting strength. His opponent then uses the bloody activation of the Black Bear Terror Tyrant and the Peak Crusher battle technique. Yi-Hai observes this. The young man attacks the other's legs with an energy beam. The bald man screams in pain, grabbing his leg. The large muscular man tries to grab the young man, who realizes that his atomic breath couldn't even damage his opponent's ankle and is impressed by the strength of the second-level fighters. Ho Peng concentrates his energy by hitting the ground, but Yi-Hu renders behind him and attacks. His fist glows with blue energy. He prepares to deliver a crushing blow. This punch is accompanied by a bright flash of blue energy. Soon Ho Peng finds himself defeated on the ground. The team is amazed at the strength of this newcomer. The wounded man accuses the young man of using genetic engineering that releases a toxic gas and curses him, promising punishment. The young man clenches his fist, shrouded in a blue energy glow. His eyes are glowing, his face is tense, and he is clearly angry. He resents being cursed and demands an explanation from the bald man. The action takes place in a stadium. An airship and a small airplane are flying in the sky, throwing confetti. On a stretch, they congratulate the students. Someone addresses the students with greetings and wishes them good luck in enrolling. In a martial arts school, a man in a yellow jacket excitedly announces something to the crowd. An elderly man with a beard is watching. Someone is filming what is happening. It is announced that the exam will last 3 days, 2 days of preliminaries. And on the third day, those who pass the preliminaries will compete. The exam takes place in a one-on-one duel format, with the winner moving on to the next round. The rules of the school tournament have been announced. Pupils will have to pass several stages of competition. First, there are qualifiers, where everyone fights 3 times. Then, final elimination fights until the winner is determined. The presenter addresses the group of people with an inspiring speech about the importance of examinations for the future of mankind. Then the start of the exams in Ancheng City is announced. 2 are fighting. One leaps to attack with a leg shrouded in a purple glow. The other, standing on the ground, blocks the blow, his fist glowing gold. There is a fight in ring number 4. A man attacks a woman, his hand glowing with greenish energy. The woman is surprised to block the blow. A girl is standing on platform number 6. There was a problem. One of the participants of the qualifying round on this platform did not show. Up man in yellow jacket is surprised to see only one of the announced fighters in the arena. Looks like the other fighter is late and could be disqualified. The girl with dragon wings and tail stands confidently, ready to fight. She remembered that she wanted to take revenge on someone named Yi, he using her fire lizard, but the opponent didn't show up, which upset her. A group of people are discussing someone who is absent. A woman wryly suggests that he is frightened and hiding at home. The man next to her, listening in surprise, raises his hand in a gesture of mild bewilderment. Another man, looking serious, suggests that such a coward is not worthy of high school, and that he should do something easier. A man blows a whistle and gestures that time is up. It is about the end of some kind of trial. Suddenly, the 2 men felt someone approaching. A bright blue ball of energy flashes into the sky, shrouded in dark smoke. Someone asks in surprise if it's a person. He flies back, enveloped in bright blue energy. The girl is unable to contain herself from the sound wave, barely standing on her feet. The girl questioned, "What the?" She hadn't had time to realize anything yet, but her opponent's foot was already near her face. He kicks his foot powerfully from bottom to top. She flies away from the blow with her arms outstretched. The guy put his hand to his forehead like a visor and rolled his eyes in frustration. Apparently, he had to put something off until next year. A woman with a face contorted with horror gasps. She calls Yi Hai by name. Yi Hai, watching the scene, asks in disbelief if it's really over. The crowd cheers, admiring Yi. He strengthens spectacular fighting style. Yi Hai defeats his opponent with 1 punch. The spectators are impressed and think it is a divine technique. The guy with the crazy grin says that he was given the blood jade fruit as a thank you. He mentions that the blood jade fruit took some time to improve his physical condition and offers to watch for further developments. The tournament bracket has been unveiled. In the semifinals, Husband of Heaven and Flower Claw faced off. Sky Husband defeated Common Pattern, and Flower Stiletto knocked out Flower Claw. The finalist has yet to be determined. Yi Hai attacks, energy punching the large man, and he flies into space. The man makes a sudden movement with his foot, from which a blue glow emanates. Yes, that's the same man who was smitten with Yi Hai. The crowd cheers, awed by the young man's strength and speed. They marvel at how quickly and decisively he tackles his opponents, defeating them with a single blow. They call him the one-punch Superman, Inchi. He clenches his fist, showing determination. Yihe from Ancheng No. 1 High School won 3 battles and advanced to the 3rd round. People addressed the student, urging him to stop and apparently explaining something about Eastern University. The guy is surrounded by people with phones offering to add a contact and telling him about generous scholarships and grants at their university. He smiles embarrassedly. They ask him if he has a university he wants to attend. From the looks of it, they are actively trying to recruit him. He is clearly surprised to hear something about a certain university. Shinyi University? He thinks, squinting his eyes. The young man decisively points his thumb up. Yi Hai is determined to go to university. He brags about making it to the finals. Passers-by don't pay attention to him. Yi Hai is downstairs, sweating, indignant that they don't believe him. He justifies himself by talking about the prestige of the university. Yi Hai says that in a city of this caliber, only the best can get into some special place. He smirks and declares that power decides everything, and after he wins the competition, he'll see what they have to say. 2 men in suits address a young man. One of them is holding some kind of document. They inform him that his skill level needs to be rechecked. The student seems surprised. The bald man is surprised by Yi Hai's dramatic increase in level. He asks how it was possible to progress so fast in 3 months, hinting at cheating. Yihae asks if he is suspected of using cheats. In response, he is told that they investigated and found out that he often visited dangerous places before. Exams. He is asked about the reason for these visits. Yihae dramatically presses his hand to his forehead, remembering his father's words. He excitedly quotes the admonition that to surpass humanity, you must stop being human. He explains that this is why he constantly fights in mysterious places, honing his skills and pushing his own limits. Both men are shocked. Looks like Yihae did something horrible, basic, fundamental. The protagonist watches. In horror, as two men in business suits hurriedly run away, he realizes that he has become the object of scrutiny. Someone encourages Yihae through a video link. A man in a hat and a woman gesticulate joyfully. Another man cheers them on too, promising to throw a party. It seems to be about exams and university admissions. The young man leans back and stares at his phone screen. He thinks of his parents and close friends. He looks pensive and a little sad. He complains that he has no one to help or cheer him up. He feels lonely and unwanted. The bald man with glasses tensely clenches his fists as he watches the fight on the screen. He is worried and encourages Yihae. He's a newcomer to the modern city. It is a new entrant in the competition, the first round of qualifiers. He recognized a student from Ancheng No. 3 Middle School named Luo Xuan. He is considered the best in his class. Luo Xuan's older brother is an 8th rank warrior, and his parents are also warriors. Luo Xuan's opponent is doomed. The young man looks at him with challenge. Yihae motions for him to make the first move. Xuan asks with a smirk if he knows who he is, then adds that knowing or not knowing it will have no effect on the outcome of the competition. He's furious, surrounded by a halo of energy. Xuan says that Yihae will lose, and he is determined to win. Xuan rushes forward towards Yihae in the blink of an eye. The attack is accompanied by a bright flash of energy. The hero is attacked by a clawed hand shrouded in blue energy, but Yihae looks serious. Standing in a fighting stance, Yihae's eyes light up. The young man assesses his opponent. Not bad, but not enough. Xuan was terrified, mouth open in a scream, face contorted in pain. Yihae abruptly swung his hand, creating a gust of wind. A powerful energy punch glowing blue rained down on Xuan. He falls down, shards flying from the impact. The guy with burning eyes grins evilly. The winner, Yihae from Ancheng First High School, is announced. And it seems someone is not happy with the results. Xuan is defeated. He is lying on the ground, breathing heavily. Apparently, it was an unexpected knockout. People admire the young man's skill and ease. Some even confess to wanting to bear him, children, impressed by his strength and superiority over others. The crowd is enthusiastically watching Yihae. People shout excitedly while waving their arms. Someone admires the strength and skill of what is probably an athlete, calling him Superman. Some support the contestant named Yihae, confident that he will win and advance to the finals. Soon the medics are carrying Xuan on a stretcher. The other guy is watching with a concerned look. The blue-haired guy with a predatory look is determined to defeat Yihae in the final round. He is confident in his choice and is determined to fight. In the university's control room, a man orders someone to find a complete dossier on Yihae within half an hour. He is answered in the affirmative. The action moves to another arena. The second group of competitors continues to compete with great intensity. Someone admires the girl's battle, calling one of them a brilliant beauty. The red-haired girl points at her opponent with disdain, saying she dislikes her emotionless, robot-like face. It turns out that she is Kai Shaolin, known as the Queen at Ancheng Second High School, a girl in light-colored attire with long, dark hair. It seems to be a tall flower from a safe city. The onlookers admire the beautiful girl's fight. Suddenly, the judge announces the start of the competition. The redhead promptly attacks the other, shouting something like, "Let's see how you'll sing when I pin you to the ground." The second heroine takes the blow. A girl with a determined expression is using some kind of technique. Magic energy is swirling around her. She is using the heavenly waterfall technique. A girl with red hair fends off a powerful energy strike. She tries to defend herself by extending her legs, but the blow clearly took her by surprise. The girl in white turns around and attacks with an energy stream. The red-haired girl has no choice but to dodge, but suddenly, the tigress attacks with a powerful energy attack. She shouts to her opponent in white to start fighting in earnest. He attacks using some kind of magical technique, a bright blue glow emanating from his hand. The redhead was sure she had hit it, but what is it? She is terrified. Her hand is stuck, trapped by the air currents created by the enemy. She can't get it free. The dark-haired girl attacks the red-haired girl with a blob of green energy. The opponent tries to block the attack. The man in the yellow jacket shouts excitedly and clenches his fist. He is sure that such a talent allows him to enter university without exams. But suddenly, the redhead awakens her beast. It was a huge tiger with burning eyes. The girl had unexpectedly awakened the power of a 3-stage tiger king. Controlling. Royal blood is difficult, especially one as fierce as the shadow tiger, but the girl has great potential. Now the redhead was sure there was no way she could handle her new power. The girl with violet eyes looks puzzled at her rival, mouth slightly ajar, and from the looks of it he has found a solution or a way out of the situation. The girl attacks furiously, her eyes blazing, her claws open. She is confident of her superiority over her opponent, believing that no warrior below her level can compete with her. Two girls come together in a dynamic fight. One, with long blonde hair, attacks, leaving a trail of fire from her weapon. The other, with dark hair and dressed in white, dodges the blow, releasing a powerful stream of blue energy. The tiger girl swiftly attacks the other girl. The second girl flies back from the blow, enveloped in turquoise energy. The moment of truth has arrived. The redhead decides to finish off her opponent with a single leg kick. But suddenly our princess started using a new technique. With a touch of her finger, she prevented her opponent's attack. A powerful blast of energy shook the arena, raising a cloud of dust. The clash of auras caused smoke to billow around the arena. A crowd of people with tense faces watched the aftermath of the battle. Someone asks if he can make it to the end. Frightened faces can be seen in the crowd. The tiger girl walks forward, resolutely. She is still within the confines of some sort of arena or battlefield. But suddenly, something wrong happens. Her eyes roll back, and the audience notices something wrong. The second she falls to the ground, and our winner walks forward, as if nothing had happened. Our beauty defeated another girl named Kai Shaolin in a duel. Apparently, the winner was a rare talent, since she was able to defeat an opponent with the same rank of awakened royal blood so easily. The audience was thrilled to see such a fight, and it is not surprising, because the princess has a good pedigree. There's a grand opening coming up. The sign reads Level 8 and something important. 3 spherical devices stand on a dais covered by a red cloth. Apparently, a presentation or opening ceremony is about to take place. Yi He, on the other hand, slips her hand into that orb. Apparently it's some kind of lottery. Pulling out a balloon with writing on it, he realizes it's the name of his next opponent, Dai. A large, muscular man holds up a toss ball and, smiling, introduces himself as a high school student. He addresses Yi Hai. The young man also gives his name and school. Judging from their remarks, they both drew lots with the same mark, and now they are to fight. A muscular man points upstairs. He offers to watch the first fight before their own fight in the second round of the tournament. The first fight between Luo Si from Qingfeng High School and Chu Zhou from Ancheng High School is announced. The screen shows a fight. One of the fighters is defeated. The other stands over him, surrounded by an aura of energy. 2 people are watching this fight. One of the spectators looks puzzled. The outcome of the fight seems to be a foregone conclusion. Yihai asks in surprise, "Chu Zhou?" The other replies in the affirmative and with slight bewilderment, reminding him that they are both from Ancheng First High School, and the latter can't help but know Chu Zhou. The announcer then declares Chu Zhou from Ancheng First High School the winner. The principal of Qingfeng Private High School angrily clenches his fist. He is clearly annoyed and exclaims something like, "Damn, lost from the start." Yi Haye asks the bulky man about his impressions of sparring. The man smirks smugly, putting his hand behind his head. He asserts his superiority, mentioning that he is the chairman of the high school martial arts and that his 2 comrades together could not defeat him. The man stares intently, his gaze piercing. He declares that Yi Hai is actually the strongest fighter. He claims to have had keen senses since childhood. The bully senses that inside Yi Hai there is a monstrous power like a dormant volcano. The man shows a thumbs up with a satisfied smile, motioning for Yi He to go, because it's time for them to go. The second round of the 8-strong tournament begins. A large man with blue hair looms over Yi Hai. The young man looks up confidently. Yes, it's a sports competition between high school students from Qingfeng and Ancheng. But who will emerge victorious? The Ancheng High School martial arts tournament is heating up. Yi He and Shenuan clash fiercely, their powers equally matched. The crowd watches in shock as the intense battle unleashes powerful energy. Shenuan grins through the blood, mocking. Yi He supposed strength Shenuan powers up, shielding himself with martial energy. Yi He prepares to strike. Yi He acknowledges Shenuan's strength, ready to take on the challenge. Shenguan unleashes his clan's dragon martial arts, summoning a fiery beast. With explosive force, Shenguan launches a devastating dual fist strike. Yi He's eyes widen. He's shocked by Shenguan's incredible speed. Yi He is struck midair by a powerful blow, unable to dodge in time. Yi He coughs up blood, overwhelmed by Shenguan's fierce attack. Yi He slams into the floor, the impact shaking the entire arena. Another fighter charges in with a raging bear spirit to defend Yi He. Shenguan crashes Yi He into the ground with brutal force. Yi He realizes Shenguan's strikes combine physical and internal martial force. Yi He steadies himself and prepares to fight back with full power. Shenguan locks Yi He in a hold, blocking his ability to use martial energy. With a fierce throw, Shenguan sends Yi He flying across the stage. A blazing tiger spirit roars behind Shenguan as he unleashes his full might. Yi He is struck by a devastating kick, launched through the air with violent speed. Shenguan strikes with overwhelming force, his spirit energy forming a giant fiery beast. Yi He declares he won't lose, summoning all his strength to resist. A massive energy blast erupts as their powers collide head-on. Shenguan laughs wildly, enjoying the pain and declaring dominance. Emergency medics rush in, prepared for the worst after Shenguan's brutal combo. A sudden force stirs the air as something unexpected begins to shift. A witness's eyes widen in shock as a mysterious light appears. A massive wave of blue energy bursts out, shaking the entire arena. A terrifying dark beast form emerges, covered in lightning and scales. With glowing eyes and crackling power, he reveals his true monstrous form. Spectators are stunned. This is a rare full beast transformation in a high schooler. The beastly fighter steps forward, his awakened bloodline power overwhelming the field. An elder examiner notices an unusual spike in energy from the battlefield. Everyone panics as Yi's core radiation skyrockets off the charts 9999999. A powerful barrier is activated to contain Yi's overwhelming core energy. Spectators are stunned. Yi, his bloodline awakening is unlike anything they've seen. Yi, he smirks. In his beast form, realizing no one on this planet knows what he is. Shenguan begins bleeding again, realizing he can no longer contain Yi, his energy. Shenguan unleashes his own terrifying beast form, radiating golden power. Yi, he descends in his awakened form, locking eyes with Shenguan in a final showdown. Both warriors charge up their ultimate martial arts techniques, power surging violently. Yi He unleashes a devastating blue slash, tearing through Shenguan's defenses. Shenguan's arm is shredded. He barely manages to block the attack in time. Yi He hovers with unstoppable energy, telling Shenguan it's over despite his strength. Yi He and Shenguan face off, both unleashing powerful bloodline energy. The opponent senses Yi He's strength has become uncontrollable after awakening. Yi He dives from above, lightning crackling across his beast form. He smashes down with a rapid barrage, overwhelming Shenguan. Yi He unleashes a golden dragon-shaped fist. The attack rushes toward Shenguan with immense force. Yi He grabs his arm and flips over him. He slams Shenguan straight into the ground. Yi He's fist crashes down like a meteor. The impact explodes, sending shockwaves across the arena. Shenguan manages to land, barely steady. Yi He stands unfazed, lightning sparking from his body. Yi He lands heavily, cracking the ground beneath him. He releases a massive burst of blue energy. Shenguan takes a hit but stands stunned. Then suddenly, Shenguan drops to the ground and surrenders. Yi He shouts in frustration, annoyed by the delay. He lowers his claw, calming down, then exhales the leftover energy with discomfort. The match ends. Yi He is declared the winner. Online, fans joke about how he didn't even go all out. Social media explodes with his clips and praises. A VIP watcher proudly bets everything on Yi He. The principal yells, furious that Shenguan surrendered. He threatens to cut support unless Shenguan repays everything. Shenguan grabs his shoulder, silencing him instantly. He explains he surrendered to avoid permanent damage. Shenguan warns him strength can't be controlled with threats. The principal is stunned and quietly agrees. The top 4 finalists of the tournament are announced. Yi He's school dominates, taking 3 of the 4 spots. The school leader laughs, expecting a promotion. Fans cheer as the semifinals draw ceremony begins. Yi He draws the same lot again, Group A. His opponent, a strong girl, also draws Group A. The semifinal match is Seiti He versus Liu Qingju. Fans go wild for the most hyped battle yet. Liu Qingju unleashes a divine phoenix glowing with fierce energy. Her power alone crushed a top-tier bloodline user with ease. Yi He counters with a Thunder Beast, equally terrifying. His bloodline awakens, fully rivaling hers in strength. Viewers quietly agree both sides are equally matched. The arena is silent. Tension building for the semifinals. Yi He and Liu Qingzhu step forward as their names are called. The referee signals the match begins. Yi He steps forward through the explosion without a scratch. Liu Qingzhu smiles calmly, unshaken. Yi He's aura rises, forming a terrifying beast in the smoke. She tightens her stance, hoping Yi He is strong enough. Yi He releases a huge burst of steam, covering the whole stage in smoke. The crowd is confused, unable to see what's happening through the thick fog. The commentator excitedly wonders how the genius Liu Qingzhu will counter Yi He's unexpected move. He speculates whether Yi He has activated some kind of bloodline awakening. He watches as Liu Qingzhu's silhouette calmly stands within the smoke. He realizes her skills and battle intelligence are far superior, making prolonged fighting dangerous. Knowing this, Liu Qingzhu charges in at full power with a blazing energy attack. Liu Qingzhu surrounds herself with energy, preparing to counter Yi He's attack. Yi He charges forward at full speed, eyes glowing with intensity. He suddenly spins into a sweeping attack, aiming to catch Liu off guard. Liu blocks midair, surprised by his unexpected move. A giant shadowy dragon roars behind him, unleashing terrifying pressure. Yi He leaps in with a powerful energy punch, aiming straight at Liu Qingzhu. Spectators criticize Yi He for being ruthless, while Liu Qingzhu struggles to hold back the attack. Her energy bursts out, but it disrupts her timing and stance. Yi He strikes her directly with a fierce energy-infused blow. Liu Qingzhu is hit hard and has no time to recover. Yi He follows up with a devastating overhead attack as she falls. Yi He tries to land a powerful claw strike, but Liu Qingzhu dodges at the last second. He unleashes a massive energy wave, aiming to overwhelm her. Liu Qingzhu calmly analyzes the technique, recognizing his energy-infused claws. She flips over the energy slash, narrowly avoiding its impact. Then, with perfect timing, she counters with a piercing energy strike of her own. He launches a relentless flurry of attacks, striking with overwhelming force. Liu Qingzhu braces herself, shocked by his stamina and relentless power. She recalls her two martial techniques, one focused on defense. The secret scrolls of her clan flash in her mind, defensive and offensive arts. If she could activate even one, she could escape this desperate situation. But Yi He doesn't give her any opening to counter. She realizes that if this continues, she'll be forced off the stage and lose. Liu Qingzhu holds her guard, eyes sharp with determination. Yi He grips a mysterious purple feather, dark energy swirling around it. He notices the shift and braces herself as tension builds. Yi He activates his final trump card, his eye glowing with ominous power. The feather releases its energy, triggering a powerful awakening. A mysterious purple flame bursts open above Yi He, catching him off guard. Liu Qingzhu appears midair with glowing wings, her body transformed by immense power. She activates her bloodline, awakening the power of the Phantom Sparrow. Her eyes glow as she warns Yi He she can't control her strength in this state. Yi He smiles confidently, saying that's exactly what he wanted to hear. He reveals he was only using half his power until now and is ready to go all out. Yi He suddenly senses danger from behind as purple energy flashes. Liu Qingzhu swoops in with full force, releasing a devastating strike. Yi He roars with power, countering with his explosive energy. Their attacks collide in midair, creating a massive shockwave. The audience is overwhelmed by the blast, shielding their eyes from the impact. The shockwave continues to ripple across the arena, leaving the crowd in awe. Liu Qingzhu soars through the sky, her wings slicing the air with force. Her glowing eyes widen as she senses something terrifying ahead. Yi He unleashes a monstrous surge of lightning energy, shaking the entire arena. He transforms into a terrifying beast-like form, glowing with deadly power. The first semifinal of the college entrance exams begins at the stadium, with the contestants showing off their skills in front of a large crowd. Liu Qingzhu senses a dangerous fluctuation in energy and realizes that the situation is becoming critical. Yi He's magical beast form begins to gather incredibly powerful energy. Everyone notices his transformation. From its back grow sharp spikes that accumulate a huge amount of energy to attack. This energy gradually moves through his body and concentrates in his jaw, preparing for a devastating outburst. Yi He releases a stream of pure energy at the opponent, threatening to completely destroy Liu Qingzhu's defenses. Liu Qingzhu tries to resist the destructive wave by spreading his wings and keeping the energy on himself. Liu Qingzhu's wings sparked with energy. She was preparing a defense to withstand the attack. The girl feels that her capacity is weakening. She is mentally and physically exhausted. Yi He's energy flow collides with Liu Qingzhu's defense, creating a powerful explosion in the middle of the arena. Liu Qingzhu's wings repel the attack with a feathered defense, surprising everyone present. The flow of energy released by Ye He is reflected in different directions, endangering the onlookers, the Yos. Spectators watch in horror and confusion as the wave of energy approaches the stands. At the last moment, a golden energy shield appears in front of the audience, protecting everyone from the explosion. The force shield withstands the attack, and the flashes of energy go out in the air. The protective barrier was created by the mayor of An City, Huang Qing, who personally appeared on the podium. The mayor looks confident as he declares that tonight, the strongest champion in their city's history will emerge. The announcer is happy to report that the public has been saved thanks to the precautions taken by the mayor. Droplets of blood appear in the arena, proving that the fight is getting tougher and tougher. Liu Qingzhu is on her knees, with blood dripping down her body and her wings significantly damaged after reflecting the blow. She realizes that Ye He's powerful attack managed to destroy her defenses with a single blow. The voice of the ancestors resounds in the girl's mind, reminding her that she has the responsibility to revitalize the Liu family. She remembers her mother, who has spent her life training her for the future of the family and experiences an inner conflict between duty and desire. Her mother, in her memoir, says that one must not only win today, but also keep winning in life. And Liu Qingzhu complains of unbearable pressure. Liu Qingzhu is exhausted. She can hardly move and feels tired. The girl notes that Ye He's strength is really huge and recognizes his power. She convinces herself that with such a strong opponent, her defeat seems natural. Deciding that she is unable to win, Liu Qingzhu openly shows vulnerability, giving Ye He a chance to overpower her faster. She throws herself into the attack one last time, urging Ye He to defeat her without holding back her strength. At this moment, Liu Qingzhu strikes, but Ye He makes no attempt to dodge, taking the attack in stride. Surprised, Liu Qingzhu doesn't understand why the opponent didn't try to avoid the blow, wondering about his intentions. Ye He is sadly and wonderfully wondering where Liu Qingzhu's fighting spirit has gone. Liu Qingzhu's eyes go wide. The girl is surprised by her opponent's behavior. Ye He asks with a stern look if she looked him in the face the entire fight, hinting at her insecurity. Ye He prepares to deliver the decisive blow with anger and confidence, declaring that the championship title will be won by him fairly. What is this guy going to do, she thought. Ye He hits Liu Qingzhu hard from top to bottom, showing her strength but not taking away her dignity. Ye He demands that his opponent start taking him and the fight seriously, tearing apart her inner doubts. In a fit of rage, the guy repeats his words for his rival to stop giving up, even though she is desperate, and calls her behavior spoiled. Liu Qingzhu, despite the pain, shouts that there is no need to hit the girl's face. In a fit of rage, the girl starts emitting red energy. I think something's about to happen. Ye He, with burning blue eyes, summons purple lightning around him, emphasizing his confidence and mindset for a serious battle. Liu Qingzhu assumes her true form as a magical beast. She is enveloped in sparkling purple energy and huge wings, preparing for a decisive clash. The glow of her eyes intensifies. Liu Qingzhu is about to show her full strength, promising to fight at full power as Ye He requested. The two fighters meet in midair, with Liu Qingzhu floating in the guise of a magical beast in front of Ye He, who stands on the ground preparing to repel the attack. Ye He notes with excitement that Liu Qingzhu has finally shown her true colors, and now the battle is getting really exciting. Realizing the seriousness of his opponent, Ye He concentrates his strength, letting the blue flames envelop his body, which enhances his fighting spirit. His combat skill, a special combination of techniques called nuclear light combat body, encapsulates hard qigong and becomes his most powerful defense and weapon. Ye He rushes towards Liu Qingzhu, declaring his desire for an outstanding fight. Liu Qingzhu gathers the strength in his wings, concentrating before counterattacking, holding his breath for a moment. She unleashes a devastating tearing hurricane technique, creating a powerful stream of energy against her opponent. Ye He instantly retaliates with a punch, his body in flames rushing towards Liu Qingzhu's hurricane. A burst of energy throws Ye He into the air. He maneuvers confidently, fully controlling the strength of his new body. Liu Qingzhu gathers even more pink-purple power, concentrating it in his eyes, clearly preparing the final technique. She emits a powerful wave of energy, her scream shaking the space and directing a concentrated attack. At Yehi, at this moment, two waves, purple and blue, collided, filling the arena with destructive brightness. Yehi crosses his arms for defense, taking on the main wave of Liu Qingzhu's attack. The blue lightning in his eyes flashed as he shouted back, showing not only strength but also fighting spirit. His body becomes covered in sharp electrical spikes. The defense becomes almost absolute. Liu Qingzhu has no intention of giving up. She decides to use the Liu family's strongest secret technique. She completely gives up her defenses, putting all her power into a single attack. The streams of energy in her body concentrate in her hands, forming a giant ball. Liu Qingzhu is ready to meet her opponent face to face, all of her power going into one crushing attack. Yehi responds with atomic breath, a powerful energy beam to counter her opponent's attack. Liu Qingzhu activates the unique ability of the clan, the bloody underworld spikes, preparing the final dash. A multitude of blood-pink spikes burst out. From her hands, pointing towards Yehi, Yehi strikes with his beam, and the two crushing forces collide in the epicenter of the arena. Commotion begins among the observers. The commentator explains that the collision of their techniques is so powerful that it is no longer possible to control the destruction. The mayor, gathering his energy, uses the Jin technique, preparing a magical defense for those around him. He erects a huge divine ley line wall to protect the onlookers. The two forces collide, shattering the wall that had been created, and a blinding light fills the arena. The shocked onlookers discuss that it was the mayor who saved them with a magical barrier from the catastrophic effects of the battle. They wonder if the mayor was able to completely contain the effects of the collision of the technicians. Dense smoke billows out of the epicenter. Also, everyone realizes that without the mayor's help, they would have been victims of the melee. The mayor himself reflects that this time the walls were erected hastily and proved weaker. He notes with amazement the colossal strength of both participants. Liu Qingzhu's bloody hand slowly slid down, revealing that she was seriously injured. She, exhausted and without strength, appears in a tattered garment in the arena, holding her wounded arm. Despite her wounds, Liu Qingzhu stubbornly looks forward and whispers to herself that she can't give up and is still able to fight. But at that moment, our hero shows up. At that moment, Yehi comes out of the smoke unharmed, much to everyone's surprise. Liu Qingzhu realizes that her attacks didn't hurt Yehi, and the latter maintains a cold confidence. He warns that she needs to get rid of the nuclear energy in her body or the consequences will be fatal. Liu Qingzhu lowers her head, shocked, and then tearfully asks why he's forcing her to fight to the last man. Yehi crouches down next to her, showing her willingness to help her. Yehi doubts Liu Qingzhu's attitude towards the fight because he can sense her true desire to win. Liu Qingzhu, after Yehi's words, suddenly realizes his feelings, looks at him confusedly. Inside herself, Liu Qingzhu admits that she really wanted to defeat Yehi, which is why she used all her strength and stopped defending herself. She reflects on herself. She had always disliked fighting, but just now she had truly felt the excitement of fighting for her own sake, not for others. Liu Qingzhu is embarrassed and blushing, for this is the first time for her that deep emotions mixed with a feeling of lightness after a fight. Yehi notices the many distracting thoughts Liu Qingzhu has during the fight, and carefully uses his abilities to show her that. He explains the reason for her defeat, and the girl notices that the damage on her arm is disappearing thanks to Yehi admits that despite losing, Liu Qingzhu is the toughest opponent he has ever met. With a slight smile, he says that he would like to fight Liu Qingzhu again one day, so that the fight will be as clean as possible. Liu Qingzhu, shocked by his words, now looks at Yehi with completely different eyes, feeling a strong sympathy for him. After dispelling the smoke in the arena, Yehi continues to stand, causing the audience to marvel. The first semifinal fight is over, and Yehi becomes the winner, raising her hand to the sky in triumph. It is reported that after Yehi's victory over Liu Qingzhu, Chuzhou, the guy with black hair and blue eyes, is also confidently winning his fight. The stadium is getting ready for the main event, the final between Yehi and Chuzhou. They are called the Dark Horse and the Top. A battle of the best is expected. The broadcast of the finals attracts millions of viewers across the country. Everyone is in anticipation of the decisive fight. Chuzhou unsheathes his sword, his aura filled with icy energy. He prepares to attack first. Yehi, with fire in his eyes, expresses full determination and calls Chuzhou to fight at full strength. Chuzhou starts the fight with a powerful attack, a stream of sharp ice blades and lightning bolts rushing forward. He uses a complex 7-star steps technique, surrounding the arena with icy debris and brilliant flashes. Yi meets this attack without retreating. It's like he doesn't care about it. Yi begins to counterattack with his signature punch, surrounded by a powerful energy glow. His fist is filled with destructive power. The explosive punch radiates incredible power. From Chuzhou's point of view, it is noticed that Ye prefers to attack all the clones at once, rather than looking for the real target. The arena is covered in cracks and potholes from Yehi's blow, and Chuzhou admits, even with maximum defense, he can't compete with such an onslaught. In his thoughts, Chuzhou admits that he doesn't know anyone his age who can compete with Ye in close combat. He calls him a monster. Chuzhou decides to change his strategy. If he can't win at close quarters, he will attack from a distance to exhaust his opponent. He summons his blood power and materializes a huge ice dragon. Its magical power fills the arena with frost. Chuzhou applies his unique technique, the ice pulse, directing streams of cold towards Ye. The audience is ecstatic. Ice walls grow in the arena, and some compare Chuzhou to a fairy tale incarnation of an ice dragon. The spectacle of magic continues as ice figures surround Chuzhou. The fans are urging him to defeat Ye. The indescribable power of Chuzhou's ice pulse creates a huge iceberg in the arena. Ye finds herself inside the ice. However, the sudden release of ice power has a serious effect on Chuzhou himself, causing physical fatigue. At this point, the commentators notice that the iceberg begins to melt. Light flashes again inside the icy prison. A powerful energy flow bursts. Outward, the ice crumbles. Chuzhou is shocked as Ye easily breaks the ice trap and comes out unharmed. He watches Ye emerge from the wreckage of the iceberg, brimming with determination. The explosion of magical energy transparently hints to the entire hall. Ordinary ice won't hold Ye. Then a dragon trail appears in the arena. It becomes clear that the ice dragon's power has no effect on Ye. Who is in dragon form, assures Chuzhou's ice magic is powerless against him since it never worked on him. Chuzhou is frustrated. The difference in their strength is too great. However, he gathers all his willpower to use the last strongest technique, originally meant to fight Lu Qingzhu. Chuzhou summoned a huge sword filled with dazzling blue energy. The mayor is amazed. He realizes that Chuzhou already possesses the power of true swordsmanship despite his young age. He notes the power of the soul-damaging sword intent technique. Chuzhou sprang into action, exuding fierce energy, his eyes glowing with martial fervor. He delivered a devastating blow with his sword. In the heat of the battle, Chuzhou's sword blade began to crack, and drops of blood fell from it, mixing with lightning. Our hero defends himself with his demonic arm while remembering that if his opponent had a better sword, he would have a chance to win. Despair appears on Chuzhou's face as he realizes defeat. His face and horns were covered with wounds due to the powerful recoil of the battle. Shards of Chuzhou's sword are scattered on the ground, and he himself is distraught, admitting that his weapon was destroyed in the battle. Chuzhou, breathing heavily, asks how much his chances of winning will increase if a stronger sword appears. Yi replies with a kind smile that Chuzhou's chances will be only slightly higher than someone who tries to succeed by simplifying the situation with a joke. Chuzhou, admitting defeat, raises his hand and clearly surrenders. In the arena, it is announced that the winner of the City College Entrance Exam Finals is Ye. The fans are encouraged by Yehi's success. His friends enthusiastically remark that Chuzhou was also very strong, but still no match for Ye. On the internet and social media, everyone is discussing Ye, calling him a true dark horse who was able to go all the way to the end, and when all over the city, huge screens show Yehi's face and praise is heard. This year was the most difficult, but it was not just the best. It rewrote history, and now almost no one will be able to surpass it. The stadium explodes with screams as the crowd chants Yehi's name, showing their support and admiration for him. The competition host summarizes the results. After 3 days of fierce battles, the best student is Yehi from Anne's first high school. After Yehi's victory, journalists pay attention. One of them notes that his path to power was not easy, and Yehi himself catches himself thinking that even things like cheating can be presented beautifully. Yehi begins his formal speech, thanking his teacher who supported him in the most difficult times and helped him not to lose his fighting spirit. His teacher can't hold back tears of joy, believing he doesn't deserve such praise, and blames himself for not seeing the student's potential sooner. Next, Yehi notices the headmaster desperately waving at him with a special offer. The Headmaster loudly announces that if Ye-hee promotes his hometown school, he will be given a 2 million scholarship. Ye-hee instantly begins to thank her school and principal, enthusiastically agreeing, because such an amount is not to be missed. Ye-hee concludes with an enthusiastic thank you to himself, recognizing that it is his hard work and diligence that has been the key to all the current successes. Suddenly, a system message appears congratulating him on his title of top student and promising to give out a random new ability. Ye-hee is visibly surprised. He realizes that the system has hidden achievement features, and the title of First Apprentice opens up even more opportunities for him to grow. Meanwhile, in the hallway there, we find some journalists chasing after our protagonist, with the aim of course, asking him some important questions. But he ignores them all, until one approaches them and asks which of the two he prefers the most. Well, he ignores them. So then, in the gym, without the journalist around, he is happy to see that he can also be unlocking very good skills as soon as he completes an achievement. However, a guy appears and congratulates our Ye. However, he wonders if he was just another reporter. But he, on the other hand, said that he wasn't a reporter. No, he was a guy who was part of the board of Rambo University. He then wanted to comment on the genetic unlocking. He then says in his mind that he didn't unlock any genetic lock. All his abilities are obtained by the monster model, but this left a flea behind his ear. He starts to wonder if this guy knows too much about his abilities, but he also wanted to comment on some important abilities that our protagonist's own father had. However, he said there that he will be giving him some very secret information for our hero. So, he hands over a secret paper that will basically give him unique information. So then, our protagonist takes it and opens it, and only after he opens it, he gets a surprise because he realizes that our protagonist's father, secretly, was working on some very powerful research. And in that research, the result would be our protagonist. He even thinks about what he wanted, but he says that he didn't want anything from our protagonist. He just came here to check some information. He asked me to stay calm, but the one who is calmest here would be our hero. However, besides that, the most important training target right now would be him, so he should be protecting our protagonist. However, he should become more famous over time, and this will most likely be attracting attention from unwanted people. Knowing that the world was dangerous, he should basically be careful. So he leaves. As soon as he leaves, he is happy. The reason was simple. He ended up winning a direct ticket to Hangdu University, as well as receiving a 2 million scholarship directly from a director there. And also the most important thing now is that he may be designing a new model skill. So he wants to be there designing this skill. So he activates the system. As soon as he activates this thing, we then see some purple lights appearing above our protagonist. We then see his wide eye, and only then a card appears. And from that card appears a monstrous thing looking more like a titan, something similar. This thing scares our protagonist for a little while, so he may be basically merging now with the skill that he will possibly have, a giant skill with the skill of his Godzilla. While he was staring at this new thing he had unlocked with wide eyes, our scene shifts to another location. Someone was calling Ruin Long, and he was saying that he basically needed to deal with certain situations. So after talking to that thing for a while, he ended the call, and then he simply hung up. But on the table, we found a hole. This is something he had been doing with just a finger movement for a long time. However, an investigator then appeared, and said that he had not been able to find the rest of his brother. In the end, he ended up not being able to do any good investigations. But after investigating for a long time, he ended up paying attention to something similar that was happening. After hearing this news, he ended up saying that his own mother had said that he needed to take care of his brother, but in the end, this ended up happening. However, he ended up kind of staring at Ye now on the screen and saying that he must now be a very rare genius who had just appeared. But unfortunately, he says that they basically can't wait for Ye to enroll in this school. However, a message appeared with our protagonist, who on another day at his house, we see him in a good mood. At the time, he said that he needed to try some new things. So, he opened the letter, and he ends up reading it, but ends up being disappointed, wondering who uses these certain things nowadays. However, ignoring this, he ends up moving forward. In a completely unknown place, we see a sunset. However, after a while moving forward there, we find a good number of people. Here, at least, there must be more than 1,000 people. But that guy from before who faced our hero appears. However, he ends up commenting there that he ended up getting a little stronger. However, he says that he used a little bit of money he had to buy some genetic medicines, which made him a little stronger, which made him quite powerful. However, he asks our Shizu what kind of university he will be enrolling in, but he doesn't answer so well, because he ends up making some jokes that our hero didn't take seriously. However, the secret kingdom will be opened, and at this moment, when he talks about this, a purple portal appears, and from that portal, some monsters appear inside these portals. And one of the students, who is considered a little weaker, ends up finding this monster there, and as soon as he finds it, he ends up pointing it out and asks them to advance and destroy them. And as soon as he comments on this, everyone who was there advances towards him. The monster from last time ended up realizing that this time there were many more people than before. However, they were very fast. But he knew that he couldn't keep fighting right now, they should retreat. But they end up getting caught on something and end up not being able to. In the end, they were knocked down. Meanwhile, in another place, here we find another portal being opened. And there, and down there, we find our protagonist and that other friend of his who was just walking around. Even our protagonist smelled something strange. Looking at these beasts now, he realizes that these beasts have been waiting for them for a long time. But those who were also waiting for these beasts were the hunters, who all there, upon seeing the beasts, then prepare themselves. And so they advance towards them. And so then, they advance towards the monsters, and each of them begins to take down the monsters that were considered tanks. After taking down one by one, we find our hero's friend, who ends up realizing that they were advancing towards him. So, to do so, he takes his sword. Taking it, he ends up creating a movement to the side, creating ice on these monsters, freezing them for a good part. However, one ended up escaping and flying towards him, but he asks him to be careful. He makes a blow that ends up hitting this monster right on the head. He then, after knocking him down, asks him to be more careful. He thanks him, but then he comments that none of these monsters in this kingdom can be defeated, but below we find all of them erased. But it seems that by defeating the monster, it does not only destroy the monster, but also destroys everything in that monster. He also comments that it is difficult to resist and remain silent at the same time, and the most frightening thing is that he may be directly attacking the cells of living beings. While commenting this, he advanced and made his movements with his new abilities that he managed to gain from our system. Others who looked at him wondered what kind of strength he had. A simple movement ended up destroying most of the monsters. He knew that defeating the strongest monsters was difficult, but he could be attracting these strong monsters towards our protagonist. But after a long time, we see a sign. What does this mean? That the tide of beasts has ended up being defeated, and the beasts for now will basically be retreating backwards. They won't be advancing towards our protagonist in their group. Despite their great progress, they suffered a huge loss in their group, and many of them were injured. But our protagonist ignores everyone, and comments there that they should be taking advantage of the harvest, and should be harvesting several monsters here, since it would give them a lot of money in the future. However, Shizu is surprised to see that he got many crystal cores. However, he may be storing these resources inside this ring. Although they didn't get many good resources, they were looking for another one. This would perhaps be the boss. But nevertheless, something catches his attention. This was the guy who managed to deal with the strongest monsters, and it is very likely that if it weren't for him, everyone in the group would basically be very tired. Furthermore, he was the best student in Ancheng City, and his name was Yusen, the leader of the martial arts group. So he approaches our hero and invites him to join his group. Everyone ends up kind of shining their eyes and commenting that this was a good choice, since if he happens to accept, he will have a perfect future. But he was interrupted by another one who was showing interest in inviting our hero to her group as well. Although he is no less than a real pawn wolf, she only asks him to join her group. That, by joining her group, she will be giving him 15% of all the group's monthly training resources. After giving all these opportunities, our hero ends up scratching his ear. Then he tells us here that he was not interested in joining any group, but he already understands that this was only a temporary refusal. But in order to force him to join her group, he will be making friends with our protagonist because maybe, in the near future, he decides to accept his proposal. After a while, his friend appears and comments that they should now be finding a very tall tree, since this forest was the forest of giant trees, and looking from above was the best opportunity to find good resources. And so he shoots off using his Godzilla ability. But he doesn't stay behind either. After a while, we find them there on top of a tree. However, he ends up being surprised because, looking ahead, he finds the gigantic monsters. Looking at this monster, he realizes that if he defeated one of them, he will basically become the richest person in the world. But for now, he can't be moving forward, or maybe he can. However, in the next few years, he will be returning and will be investigating this entire place here where he finds these giant monsters, and he will have first-hand information about this secret kingdom where they are. However, another person appears there, and in his mind he comments that when he looked at those monsters he trembled all over. But now, when he looks at our hero, he realizes that things have changed completely. He was eager to face monsters, like that. To do so, he uses his magnetic field ability, but he realizes that he may be detecting some types of life distribution in all sorts of places in this secret kingdom. But there is an amber in the southeast direction, which is like a vacuum zone, completely empty. And there is also a saying, the bigger the storm, the bigger the fish collected. So he ends up pointing in that direction and asks him to follow him. But before he can follow, she appears, the Julia from before, who our protagonist already recognizes. And she also recognizes our protagonist. However, another member of his group is surprised to see that they both know each other there. As soon as they introduce themselves, he ends up asking how long they had been there. She comments that it had been a long time, but they also say that they came here just to take a dip since most of their group here are good swimmers. And a guy appears from the water. As soon as this guy appears, he gets a little happy, and then he says that there is some kind of fortress underwater. They must be going down there to check these things out more closely. Watching all this happening, he wonders what was going on. Why were they happy to find small buildings? He then says that they were some buildings of some ancient people who lived in this secret world. However, when he hears these two talking, he is surprised and ends up almost grabbing his sword. Before he can do anything stupid, she says that these two were Ye and another was Shizu, some guys who came out on top in the entrance exams. After a while, he ends up agreeing to let them in. The reason wasn't even simple because it's very likely that these two were powerful and becoming their ally now was the best option for now. And as soon as he comments on this, they go underwater. Underwater then, we find the whole group swimming. But after a while, they arrive at a kind of cave. But now, inside the cave, they wonder where their other companion is. He comments that maybe he found some very good resources, and after he found it, he left it here, but nevertheless, he called for his friends, for his transmitters. Then, he just doesn't get a response from anyone, so it means that something happened. But he ends up commenting that he shouldn't worry because he threw some monster bomb baits here so that he could capture the monster. But to their disappointment, not even a single monster appeared there. However, the other comments that he was the strongest. If he hasn't appeared by now, it's very likely that he was caught by these monsters, so they should be retreating. But he ends up thinking otherwise. If by chance he wants to retreat, he can just retreat. Besides, if he advances here, they will become quite rich. And if by chance he wants to become poor, he can just go back. Well, they end up taking this a little more seriously. So then, they end up moving forward. He then uses a type of flashlight that allows him to see the tracks of his friend who was there on the ground. As he advances, we see our protagonist walking along with them, but he notices something strange happening here. He comments that this here was too strange too. It was as if he had a perfect map of everything that was happening. He looks ahead and stares at himself. He realizes that things will go in the same direction as in that other mission he did in that secret dungeon. He even thinks about telling his group that there is very likely something happening there. But no, he ends up feeling kind of happy about it, but they end up moving forward. However, she ends up stopping because here they can't move forward any longer because that thing that helped them find their friend ended up losing all its magical power, which means that here was a place where their magical powers no longer worked. Furthermore, if she didn't find him here, it's very likely that he was caught by some other aquatic monsters. But she approaches him and wonders where those aquatic ruins he mentioned before were. But the other ends up pointing in the direction next and comments that the guy they were looking for was there. Looking at this, she gets all scared. She ends up not even thinking about what could be happening. But that guy who guided them here ends up wondering where the ruin was and also what was happening. Out of nowhere, a green thing appears from his head, and that thing ends up taking itself to a point where it ends up disconnecting from the rest of his body. After this happens, everyone ends up getting scared. They end up thinking that now, it was the end for them. However, a glow came from deep inside. This was our hero who ended up taking a puff and ended up catching our yang. He was surprised that it seemed like he used a very high intelligence to be hunting the warriors. As soon as he hunted one, he paralyzed the brain of the other warrior to be luring the rest of his group to this cave here. And to make matters worse, it seems that he managed to close their exit. And then he also comments that this monster was perhaps of the second level, of the second king level. He was considered a very powerful force. The strength of warriors like them would perhaps not be enough to be facing this monster. However, this is no longer brought to our protagonist. He asks him to watch. he will basically be dealing with this monster as quickly as possible. However, an explosion appears out of nowhere, and from that explosion, that guy from before appears. Then he comments that he was only here to be hunting and sending our protagonist to another world. He knew that our protagonist had radiation there that helped him guide him to our protagonist. Now that he's here, he could be getting this over with as quickly as possible. However, he ended up using some huge rocks to block his path. However, he ended up realizing that he needed to wait a bit, and to do so, he ended up hiding his entire presence. However, even though he was hiding it, he still noticed his presence. He even considered our protagonist strong enough to have faced his brother. However, our protagonist wonders who he was fighting against. What's more, it's an unknown guy who entered this cave commenting on some things that he didn't understand. He asks him to stop pretending things. But before he can do anything, that monster from before appeared and ended up giving him a holding him. But this won't separate him. Furthermore, this was a plan by our protagonist to prevent him from advancing towards her. He can't be wasting time here. He must be moving forward with his plan and taking down our hero, and his goal is to face our protagonist and not these roots of this dungeon. But she, from another location, realizes that the dungeon would be destroyed if they, by chance, continue with this fight. However, someone appears in the background asking her to get out of the way. She quickly turns around. Then, she sees our protagonist preparing his breath. As soon as he prepares it, he fires it towards them, perhaps even opening a path for them to escape. Now that he has opened the path, he asks them to get out of there first. However, he asks him not to escape. But before that can happen, ice appears there, creating a barrier to protect our hero. The one who made this barrier was his friend. In order to defeat our hero, he will need to get past him first. But he who is at the 8th level of warrior, this ice would not be enough to knock him down. Having said this, he loses all concentration, and our hero uses all this to his advantage. He prepares a punch, and as soon as he prepares it, we see him landing it on his face. And as soon as he lands it, we see him being thrown with all his force against the wall. Before he can continue with the fight, he asks his friend to go first. He is a very powerful guy. So he turns to the fight, and he sees the guy there getting up after taking that punch in the face. After that, the scene changes to outside. They were saying that the guy was crazy to try to destroy everything in there. However, then our hero's friend appears. She asks where our protagonist was. He turns around, and from behind, we find a gigantic lightning bolt falling. Only later do we find a colossal thing appearing. And from this colossal thing, we find that guy who was trying to face our protagonist. The guys who were just watching. This were all frozen, but then he saw a shadow of something gigantic in the middle of all that smoke that appeared there. After a while, appears. After the fight happens, he comments that he used a type of plasma bomb there to defeat our hero. But to have a plasma bomb like that, you would have to be in the army. He ends up kind of cooling down there, especially because he almost discovered that it was our protagonist who used a new form of power that he unlocked. He doesn't want to show off his new ability that he got, but by using that new form, he managed to crush that guy very easily. He didn't end up not being able to get some important things that he had, but he did get the magic core of the demonic vine. But the group over there ends up thanking him and comments that basically they will have to retreat for now, and he ends up apologizing for not being able to find that fortress under that cave. He comments so that she wouldn't worry. Furthermore, this was just a thank you for the last time she helped our hero. As soon as she left, we saw the happy faces of the two of them to see that now, finally, they would have the freedom to kill the strongest monsters. Then, after 3 days at the entrance to the secret realm, we found the two of them advancing there. However, they ended up stopping, and then they couldn't believe what they were seeing. In a few days, they built a gigantic city in a completely deserted place. But then he took all the resources they had obtained and put them on the table. Then he asked her to look at these things because there were many resources here and they couldn't look at all of them today. But she was surprised to ask where the rest was missing. To do so, he ended up taking off his ring, and after he took it off, he ended up taking other resources that she got from inside. After all this, she is surprised and ends up wondering where so many bags of just one ring came from. However, after taking out bag after bag, she wonders if it was already finished. But our hero, on the other hand, ends up finishing it. Being in the room, everyone was honestly shocked that such a young lord was able to bring so many treasures. They cheered and rejoiced at this event. Yehi recalled how during the battle with the wave of beasts, he had collected 5 level 3 blue monster cores. They were now hovering near him, pulsing with powerful energy like trophies of strength. He stands on the sidewalk in a relaxed pose, clearly confident. Despite his simple clothes, his powerful physique reveals the experience of a fighter. A luxurious black car passes by with squealing tires, glistening in the sun and showing the wealth of its owner. The car looks like a sign of status and influence. An elderly man with a smug smile gets out of the car, followed by a security guard in sunglasses. Obviously, this man did not come empty-handed. Ye-hee looks at them with an expression of extreme boredom and indifference. He is clearly unimpressed by the visit, and even less happy to see them. As the car drives away, leaving behind a puff of dust, he stands with his phone in his hand. He doesn't care at all about what's going on. Looking at the screen, Ye-hee ponders. No amount of money can compare to increasing his power by even 10%. For him, personal power is the real value. Behind him, a huge creature suddenly appears with its mouth open, saliva oozing from it. Ye-hee, without even turning around, looks slightly worried. His eye widens in utter shock. It seems the threat was far more serious than he'd expected. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a spectacular scene unfolds. A figure surrounded by a whirlwind of fiery energy, ready to deliver a crushing blow. The eyes of the observer reflect this moment of power and majesty. Ye-hee rushes forward with great speed, leaving a swirl of dust and air behind him. His acceleration is so powerful that he seems to tear through space. He arrives at the school and heads straight to the principal's office. The sign on the door makes it clear that this is an important meeting. Meanwhile, in the study, tea is poured for the young man. The principal puts his hands on Ye-hee's shoulders in a friendly manner, showing a welcoming attitude. Ye-hee smiles but feels a slight tension. When Ye-hee takes out a jar with some strange creature inside, the director's eyes light up like Christmas lights. He is literally ecstatic at what he sees. Now they stand in front of each other, Ye-hee holding the present and the director carefully accepting the jar with the mysterious creature. You can see that it's something precious to him. Ye-hee looks on with great determination, eyes sparkling with stars and gears. He is clearly motivated. His emotions are peaking, and he's ready to act again. The scene shifts to a more comical one, with both Ye-hee and the director looking hypertrophied with joy. Both are laughing and enjoying the moment like two conspirators. Later, Ye-hee, covered in drops of water and with a towel on his head, thanks the director on the phone. He wonders which martial arts family he asked for help from. Hearing the answer, Ye-hee's face freezes in shock. On the outskirts of the town of An, a motorcycle rushes down the road at breakneck speed. A guy sits behind the wheel and a blonde woman with wavy hair clings behind him. The girl is delighted by the speed, admiring Jia's brother and his driving skills. Jai, grinning smugly, promises to do something even cooler. Meanwhile, Ye-hee is riding his bike and warns him not to get distracted while driving, or his loved ones will cry. From the look on his face, he's not impressed by Jai's antics. A motorcyclist and his girlfriend panic when Ye-hee abruptly overtakes them on a regular bike. In response, Jai explodes with indignation. He can't believe that someone would dare compete with him on a wrecked bike. Sei furiously twists the throttle, deciding that his status would not allow him to lose. He responds by unleashing a torrent of rocket acceleration, leaving puffs of smoke behind him, delighting his female passenger. Ye-hee looks at all of this without emotion, his half-closed eyes expressing a mixture of contempt and boredom. He doesn't even need to say anything to express his attitude. Then something unexpected happens. A powerful blue blast of energy from behind shocks both the girl and Jai. Their faces are contorted with horror, as if they had witnessed a miracle. He, bouncing on his bike against the blue flash, goes forward, leaving his opponent far behind. Only Jai's charred brother flies down. A blue stream of energy stretches along the road, leaving behind a trail of magic and defeat. Ye-hee demonstrates a speed that exceeds all possible perceptions. TC and his female passenger remain behind in utter shock. They can't believe it was just an ordinary rented bicycle. So fast it appeared to be, it resembled an airplane. Ye-hee stands next to the rented bike and looks up at the building with respect, noting that everything is in keeping with the martial arts family's status. A grand estate is revealed to him, a huge mansion surrounded by statues and a manicured garden. He is amazed at the luxury in which his acquaintances live. Ye-hee feels several powerful beings appear in his life, magnetic field at once. His attention is focused. He senses that strong personalities are nearby. Someone in sandals comes out of the house, their light footsteps sounding like a foreshadowing of a new meeting. A beautiful girl in a white dress appears in front of Ye. He and greets him by name, confirming that she was expecting his arrival. Yi-hee teases Qingju, asking if she's not happy to see him. She embarrassingly excuses herself, saying it was her mom who asked her to meet him and walk him inside. They follow the path deep into the garden, past the working gardener, and head towards the main entrance. The doors of the mansion swing open, in front of them, and the shadows of Ye-hee and the girl stretch across the floor as they step inside. The girl informs her mother that Ye-hee has arrived, her voice sounding reserved but respectful. A woman in elegant purple feather-patterned shoes comes down the stairs. Her mother is probably ready to meet her guest in person. Shenuan, the head of the Liu family, walks majestically down the stairs to greet Ye-hee. She personally expresses her hospitality to him. Upon seeing Shenuan, Ye-hee is so struck by her beauty that his nose bleeds, and he inwardly exclaims that he has finally understood Premier Cao Cao's feelings. After the Liu family, reception is over. Calm reigns over the mansion once again. Inside the mansion, Shenuan sits on a sofa while Qingju stands in front of her, bowing her head. The tense atmosphere is felt even through the shot. Qingju anxiously tries to start a conversation by addressing her mother, but stammers. Shenuan reassures her daughter, saying that there is no reason to worry. Mother praises Qingju for her performance in the exam against Ye-hee, emphasizing that he is incredibly strong and would have been considered a dark horse even in the Huadu College entrance exam. Qingju listens silently, not knowing what to say in response. Shenuan continues, explaining that Qingju's younger brother doesn't have the right abilities to inherit the Liu bloodline, and she is the only one of the current generation who can bear this responsibility. However, she adds that Qingju is still a girl, and also of incredible beauty, which seems to make her doubt the appropriateness of such a choice. Shenuan recalls how after her father's death, their family was left without a patron and had to move to a small town. She realizes that if a wealthy family wants to marry Qingju off, it would be impossible to refuse. It would lead to the death of the Liu family. Her mother shocks Qingju by proposing an alliance with Ye-hee, asking how she feels about it. Lan says Ye-hee is talented, with a simple family and good intentions, and she doesn't see him as a threat. She adds that Qingju doesn't have to give an answer right away, but just needs to communicate with him first. Ye-hee, following tradition, presents the gift and formally welcomes Shenuan, and the latter solemnly accepts him into the Liu family. Lan mentions that she heard from the headmaster about Ye-hee's desire to study advanced martial arts, and informs him that Qingju will show him the way. Ye-hee is surprised at how easily and quickly everything was approved. Lan hands Ye-hee a pass and informs him that he will only be able to visit the Liu family's martial arts pavilion for one day. It is forbidden to take the knowledge outside. She warns that Xuanwu's 3 styles of martial arts are stored inside, and whether he can master them depends only on his ability. Ye-hee gratefully expresses her respect to the Liu family and pledges them a debt of gratitude for the opportunity. Lan, noticing that he thanked the whole family and not her personally, concludes that he made a promise to the Liu family. She is sure the family will make him fulfill that promise. Lan, watching Ye-hee, mentally notes that he's smart, and she likes him. Qingju, on the other hand, feels a strange look on her face and doesn't understand what's wrong. Ye-hee and Qingju walk together down the stone corridor deep into the manor. The tension between them can be felt in the air. Ye-hee notices that the girl is trying to avoid eye contact with him, but she denies it. He asks her a direct question, embarrassing her. He moves closer and Qingju looks at him in panic, blushing. The tension between them grows. The girl recoils in panic, not realizing why he came so close. Ye-hee starts laughing, clearly amused by her reaction. The two of them approach the huge stone door to the dungeon. Qingju looks tense. The girl explains that in front of them is a stone door made of huali, a special stone from a secret dimension that can absorb master-level attacks. Ye-hee immediately asks if she can hit it. Perplexed, she lets him try it. In her mind, she is amazed at Ye-hee's strange logic, because he should have admired the stone, not immediately wanted to punch it. Ye-hee activates his technique. His fist flashes with a blue glow. He targets the door with full force. Qingju instantly recalls the horrible events related to this technique and feels an inner fear. Her mind is gripped by panic from the memories. Ye-hee releases a powerful energy, directing it forward. Ye-hee tries to move a large stone wall, but the wall won't budge despite his best efforts. Qingju is watching nearby. The protagonist is surprised to find that the wall absorbs his strength, and about 90% of his energy disappears, going nowhere. Qingju, seeing this, offers to take Ye-hee to choose martial arts, while she herself laughs at his rare failure. Qingzhu explains that martial arts here are divided into several categories: movement, defense, horizontal training, fencing, and others. To gain access to a particular art form, all you have to do is use an identification card. Entering a special stone room in the deepest part of the castle also requires you to swipe your card across the castle. Qingzhu warns that it's impossible. To understand the art of Zhuanhuang in one day, you can only master a small part of it. She believes that her mother's permission to learn the art is not necessarily good for the protagonist. She suggests picking up suitable techniques herself, slightly inferior in strength. Yehi thanks Qingzhu for his concern with a slight sneer, but assures him that he knows what he's doing, and that if he's going to learn it from the strongest. He decides that if he doesn't dare to master Zhuanhuang, he'd better not start at all, and notices the unusual lock on the door. Qingzhu reveals that the secret room where Zhuanhuang techniques are kept is particularly well protected, and a rare, black energy stone is used as part of the castle. Qingzhu explains that they have been collecting such black stones since their great-grandfather's generation to build a protected wall around the equipment room. Inside the main secret room are powerful gold-rimmed safes that hold special techniques. On one of the safes, Yehi sees a sign labeled "Devil in the Flesh." Qingzhu explains that the art of Zhuanhuang cannot simply be seen. It must be felt, like a rhythm or mood left by the creator. If one does not feel this rhythm, or if the character of the student is not suitable, one cannot begin the art. This way, the art chooses the student. Yehi gets the feeling that the devil in the flesh technique is perfect for him. He considers himself the chosen one for this martial art. The stash of art opens and Yehi steps inside, where he is greeted by an ominous atmosphere. Yehi is amazed. It turns out that the Zhuanhuang technique is not presented in book form at all. He is surprised to find that the art is kept in the form of an intimidating, demonic-looking statue.